more than 2/3 of voters are backing a general election, according to a poll situated by Byline Times, guys. We're going to read into this a little bit more, guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with an article from Byline Times with a headline that we do want a general election. Voters tell Conservatives as the majority think life has gotten worse under Sunak. Voters want Rishi Sunak to be a shorter-term Prime Minister, new polling suggesting. Rishi Sunak had stated that. What did he state? That the general public didn't want a general election, and not just this poll that we're going to read into, but quite a lot of polls have suggested that the public are fed up and they want a change of some sorts. And it's been talked about for quite some time, guys. You know, the very possibility of having a general election. Now, what most YouTubers' analysis and that are saying is that the likelihood of a general election may be in autumn, or potentially maybe spring. The other suggestion is that the next general election could be as late as 2025 in the winter time, which is not an ideal time for a general election. There's also been the suggestion that perhaps it could clash with America's general election as well, which we don't want that either. So, yeah, so there are a few possibilities. The question is when. When is the general election going to be called? Because as of right now, despite everything that's going on, Labour still have a strong lead, according to the majority of polls. But in normal projections, when the run-up to general elections normally happen, regardless of things, what tends to happen is the polling does start to get close. And I know everybody's saying that it's likely to be a Labour landslide and whatnot, but there were voters who still voted Conservative. There's going to be lots of voters out there who are going to vote Conservative, regardless of how terrible they have been for the last 13 years. There's going to be voters out there who cannot stand Keir Starmer and the Labour Party and will either vote Lib Dems, Greens, or Reform, or probably won't even vote at all. For whatever the situation is, it's going to be an interesting general election for sure. And this is just another poll that may give us another indication of where potentially things might go. And as you guys know, Byline Times is quite reliable when it comes to news and information. So, more than 2/3 of voters back a general election in the next 6 months, according to the new WeThink polling for Byline Times. The finding comes after the Prime Minister claimed now is not the time for a general election. Asked whether he would go to the country to get a mandate, Rishi Sunak told Sky News earlier this month that that's not what the country wants, and that's what people want is politicians making a difference to their lives. However, Byline Times can reveal that 70% of respondents to the polling backed a general election within 6 months. Although 60% of Conservative voters oppose a national vote being held soon, backing rises to 74% among Liberal Democrats and 86% among Labour voters. Even right-wing Reform UK voters strongly back an early election, with 72% in favour. If you're getting Lib Dem, Conservative, Liberal Democrats, Labour voters, Reformers, all saying voters want to have a voice again. And it does feel like a long time now since we had a voice. And the thing is as well, you have to remember this, that we did not vote for Rishi Sunak, and he's putting in policies that were not in the manifesto, or he's rolling back on manifesto commitments that were made in 2019. And it just basically means we can do whatever we want. And that's essentially what it is, and that's not democratic in any way, shape or form. The idea is that when you have a manifesto, you're supposed to commit to it, and they obviously aren't doing that anyway. The Conservatives are currently trailing Labour in the polls by around 20 points. The latest the Prime Minister can call a general election is January 2025. Yeah, winter time. We don't really want to wait that long. We don't. But he may attempt to hold it as close to then as possible, given his party's unpopularity as it stands. Inflation is expected to fall around 4% next autumn, which he could shore up some support of his embattled party. That's what he's gambling on. He's gambling on the inflation, basically saying we're fixing the economy, we're reducing, cutting down inflation. But there's so many other issues going on in the country that they're just ignoring. And the thing is, they're not really doing anything yet to fix inflation. It's just something that they're saying they're doing. Meanwhile, a year since Rishi Sunak became Prime Minister, 55% of voters believe that life has gotten worse for them during their tenure, the polling suggests. 1 in 8, 12% said it has gotten better, and a third, 33%, said it has stayed the same. Even among Conservative voters, just 29% say that life has gotten better for them, while 24% say it has gotten worse. In a further new WeThink polling for this newspaper, 73% of those polled said they oppose redundancy pay for ministers who served in ousted Prime Minister Liz Truss. 49 days as government, 49-day government. Yeah, it was pretty shambolic for Liz Truss for 49 days. It was just pathetic, really, to say the least. Ministers who served under her were entitled to thousands of pounds of redundancy pay while still being MPs. Asked if this was unfair, 3/4 said yes, compared to 14% believed it was fair. Shockingly for Truss, who remained highly active on the Conservative right, the figure against her ministers getting redundancy cash sits at 74%, with just 10% thinking it's fair. There have been calls for those who serve in Truss's government to pay back their severance pay, given the extremely short time that they have served. Truss herself received $18,660 in severance pay after her government collapsed, equivalent to £381 each day for her disastrous 49-day tenure, the Times reported. Her sacked Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng, whose mini-budget spooked the markets and sent mortgage rates soaring, received £16,846. This is the guy that needed to... Kwasi Kwarteng is the same guy who needed to keep his horses warm as well, because apparently that was priority for him. And I think it's taxpayer money that paid for that as well, allegedly. Boris Johnson, who was also forced from office last year, receives £18,666, among dozen more ministers who handed out payouts for sacking and quit. Why are they getting these payouts for the damage that they've caused? Like, don't they get enough money? Like, am I the only one who thinks that they don't get enough money as it is? Like, I don't know about you, but do most middle and low income jobs, when you get sacked or dismissed, do you get a massive compensation? I don't think so. Maybe it depends on the cases, but most of them, I don't think you do. Truss and Johnson are both entitled to an office allowance of £115,000 a year to support them after being ousted as Prime Minister. I think they get like a payment for life or a wage for life or something because they were Prime Ministers as well. Sacked or quitting ministers can receive 3 months' salary when they leave office, providing they don't return to government within 3 weeks. Special advisors are also entitled to between 3 and 6 months' pay. The finding comes as the International Hard Right gathered today on October the 30th in London for an Alliance for Response to Citizen Censorship. This was this article was yesterday, so yeah, the rest of that stuff is kind of irrelevant because it was this was a day ago, guys. But on the talk of obviously polling, some interesting percentages there that pretty much most parties are pretty much party voters are in favour of them. Conservative voters, Lib Dem voters, Lib Dems, Labour, pretty much the vast majority are in favour of a general election. But obviously, things can change, opinions can change, and it's always in a different perspective when as we get close to a general election, when it is called, and how many people are actually going to come out and vote? How many people are just going to say, I'm not even going to take part? There's lots of questions around when the general election comes. But even before that comes, there's still by-elections to come along as well, which is going to be definitely food for thought. That is for sure. So, what do you guys make of those percentages? What do you guys make of those numbers? What do you guys think the general election is going to happen? I think it's going to happen in autumn. I think he's going to gamble in autumn. I don't think he's going to wait till winter as of right now. But my opinion can change. What about yours? Let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think. Like, share and subscribe as always. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.